Welcome to Have History Will Travel. I am your host, the Wilder Historian, and today I want to talk about a topic that I've discussed numerous times with historians and the public, and it never fails to elicit a reaction because everyone has their own opinion on this. What was the turning point of the American Civil War? So I have come up with a list of 3 battles/campaigns more important than Gettysburg that can be considered the turning points of the Civil War. I've heard the same old tale since I was in elementary school, all the way through high school, and it wasn't until I got to college until I heard a different viewpoint other than Gettysburg was the turning point. Once I left my undergrad and entered graduate school, I began to formulate my own theories and ideas about what was the true turning point. Since then, I have talked to many people about the question of what was the turning point. I just wanted to highlight 3 of those in this video. Gettysburg ended Lee's invasion of the North, but it doesn't produce a solid turning point. For one, Lee's army was not destroyed. It was bloodied, but it was still intact and he was able to make it safely back to Virginia, ready to fight for nearly 2 more years. The Union did not gain any significant ground by their victory either. So as I progress through this list, I will demonstrate the outcomes that emerged from these other campaigns and battles. The first possible turning point I want to mention is the Battle of Vicksburg, or more broadly, the entire Vicksburg campaign. During Ulysses S. Grant's daring campaign to capture the southern city along the Mississippi River, he pushed any possible reinforcements of Confederates back by attacking the capital of Jackson and then surrounding the city of Vicksburg. He launched multiple assaults, but ultimately the Southerners surrendered on July 4th, 1863, one day after Gettysburg. Its capture resulted in around 30,000 Confederate soldiers being taken off the field. We know now that many of them got paroled and re-enlisted, but the fact is that they were taken out of the war, at least for a time. Secondly, it secured the Mississippi River in the hands of the Union, one of the most valuable transportation routes in the South. Thirdly, the capture of the Mississippi meant that Texas beef and Louisiana sugar used to feed the Confederate armies east of the river was taken out of the situation. The second possible turning point, and one suggested by my dissertation advisor, was the battles of Franklin and Nashville. A fairly new commander of the Army of Tennessee, the South's main fighting force in the Western Theater, basically abandoned Georgia, hoping to draw Union forces out of the state by attacking the vital city of Nashville that had been in Union hands since early 1862. The Battle of Franklin alone saw the South losing 6 generals killed, 7 wounded, and 1 captured. Plus, the failed attacks resulted in the virtual destruction of the Army of Tennessee. Although it would reform and take part in the late stages of the war in North Carolina, it was not its old self. My dissertation advisor used Bradley Clampett's book, The Confederate Heartland, Military and Civilian Morale in the Western Confederacy, to illustrate that up until the battles of Franklin and Nashville, the civilians and the soldiers were optimistic about victory. But those battles changed their minds, and they saw defeat in their immediate future. The third possible turning point, and the one I ascribe to, is the Chattanooga Campaign. Although that campaign did lead to a Confederate victory at Chickamauga, the capture of Chattanooga and Knoxville, Tennessee, one of, if not the most important railroad lines in the Confederacy. Chattanooga was the heart of the South, with so many railroads running through it, and Knoxville housed the East Tennessee and Virginia Railroad, which was the most direct railroad link between the Eastern and Western Confederacy. By capturing those 2 points, the Confederacy was forced to wither away because the South's ability to transport men and supplies were extremely limited. In summary, Vicksburg struck a huge blow to transportation of the South. In the hearts and minds of the Southern people of the Western Theater and the soldiers in the Western Army, at the time, Franklin and Nashville represented the turning point of the war. And the Chattanooga Campaign significantly diminished the South's armies from getting the necessary supplies they needed for fighting the war. Now, I have provided a nice summary of 3 possible turning points. By no means are those the only possibilities, so I want you to comment below with what is your favorite possible turning point and why. Thank you all for watching, and have a nice day.